Hello everyone, my name's Artemis Black and this is my video on how to make a competitive ladder, a competitive environment with a ladder format that I think competitive players from all other formats, from all aspects of Blood Bowl, from tabletop through Fumble, through leagues, would all actually be interested in playing and would consider to be prestigious. Consider it to be something that you would be proud to win, something that you would actively say that you won with some form of achievement in your voice, rather than a lot of the problematic formats we've had, especially in Blood Bowl 3, which has just been massively favorable to people with free time, like not skill, just lots of time. No, and I think I'd like to show that what's come of that is simply that people don't care. Nobody thinks the person who's at top of ladder or third on ladder or even front page of ladder has no. It's not representative of any skill level. It doesn't mean that the person who won is bad or good. Um, it just it's just a thing. It just means they've played enough games that they're there. Like it really doesn't matter at all at the moment where you are in ladder. Nobody will look at that and be like, oh, they must be good. Which it should be. Like the ladder, to me, the ladder of Blood Bowl 3 should have been, and the ladder of Warhammer Blood Bowl should be the most prestigious thing to win in the world. Blood Bowl is Blood Bowl is a game where skill is best represented over time. Any individual game, anyone can win because, RNG exists. But RNG flattens out the more you play. So the longer formats are more representative of skill. Um, it's why, for example, in tabletop, any individual tournament can be won by dozens and dozens of people. But if you look at tournament winners over the year, the same people pop up because on the times where they had bad luck, you don't see them. But the times where they had normal luck and the times where they had good luck because of their skill, they are at the top of those tournaments. So you see the same people show up, even though it's not consistent. You don't see them show up in every tournament. You just see them show up the most. Ladder is like a condensed version of that. If ladder takes 30, 40, 50, 60 games, I don't, by the way, I'm not, as you'll see, I'm not saying it should be that many games just because it'll put off more people. But it should be at least a format where you have to play a certain amount of games, and the win rate that you have during those games should matter. That's the bit that's currently missing from almost every ladder we've had in Blood Bowl 3. People can have terrible win rates and still be at the top of ladder because they just kept playing. So I would like to I'll start this out. I've just talked for 2 minutes. I would like to say at the start here that this is not the Artemis Black way. This is not my way. This is something that has been tweaked and changed and added to based on collaboration with other top coaches from tabletop, from Fumble, from Blood Bowl 3, from leagues. I happen to be lucky enough to know quite a lot of them, and I've had a lot of feedback, and we've changed things based on that feedback. So this isn't my way. This is just a way that I am putting forward because I happen to have a platform to do so. So it's an approximation of other people's ideas as well as my own, glued together into a format that all of those people would be happy to play, would actively play. Whereas, unfortunately, at the moment, quite a lot of them don't play Blood Bowl 3 at all and have no intention to play Warhammer Blood Bowl. It's an unfortunate fact that if you looked at something like the Denmark Glico ratings for the best coaches in the world, 80% of the top 20, top 30, top 40 do not play Blood Bowl 3. And after having talked to a number of them, have no intention to change that when Warhammer Blood Bowl comes out. There's a massive pool of good players that are missing. And if you expand that pool out to other tabletoppers, There's a massive pool of tabletop players that are simply not interested in playing this online format, and the same ideas come through. There's no point. The ladder looks stupid. It's not really competitive. And if you talk about Arena to them, because obviously they play tabletop tournaments, which is Resurrection, like Arena, the tiering's not the same as the competitions I play. Like, why would it's not practice? So they practice on tabletop, they practice on Fumble. They just don't play this game. So I would like that to change. I think that Warhammer Blood Bowl seems to want to be that kind of inclusive competition. And that means that it has to represent something that those players want to play. And at the moment, it doesn't. So, what are the things that are missing? This is the first big thing. Blood Bowl 3 introduced an idea of team-based SR, and like, I get the idea of it. I'm not going to spend the entire time trashing the current system. I don't think that's very constructive, but it doesn't work. We've explained why it doesn't work over and over again. It just doesn't work. The idea of temporary SR attached to in like starting teams, it does not represent the difficulty of any match. If I start a brand new team, I'm the most difficult match most players are going to get, and yet I'm worth the same as someone else starting a brand new team who is bad at Blood Bowl. It makes no sense. The whole idea of coach-based SR, of ELO in other formats, is to keep permanent track of how skillful someone is, of how much they've won and lost. That's something that is sorely missing. Permanence has been something that's been sorely missing in any online version of this. We don't really understand why there's no permanent records. Why is there no Hall of Fame? Why is there no win rate records of all of these good coaches? Why can't I click on a page and find out the best coaches in Blood Bowl 3? I won't be able to in Warhammer Blood Bowl either. That's something that is present in almost all other esports and hobbies with win-loss scenarios, and yet for some reason Blood Bowl is missing it. And I say for some reason because of all of these various things, Blood Bowl is quite a nerdy hobby, and nerds like stats. This is essentially a fantasy football game. Like, stats are incredibly like beloved by the kinds of people who are drawn to this kind of game. It's not a John Madden game. As we find out from lots of people who buy the game, play 5 games, and leave to never come back again, when you ask those people, if you ever have the opportunity, which we have over the years, it's because they just didn't really understand what Blood Bowl was. It's a strategy board game. If people are actually into a strategy board game, yeah, they're kind of nerdy, and yeah, they're going to kind of like stats. Coach-based SR is I would say, the biggest change that needs to happen for Warhammer Blood Bowl. Not only is it incredibly important for permanence and for establishing rankings, it's the only way to have a strength of opponent factor in any ladder. And the one thing that everyone said about Blood Bowl's 2 ladder was that the thing that it was missing, the thing that would make it perfect, was there was no strength of opponent. For those people who don't know, Blood Bowl's 2 ladder was basically an interesting little formula where you got points based on wins and losses, your win rate, and it was on a curve. So the first, you wouldn't get 100% of your win-loss ratio until you got to 42 games. And it was on a curve, so once you hit about 30 games, you had like 90-odd% of your win-loss ratio. And then after 42, your win-loss ratio was practically set. You would have to win many games to increase your your final score. So it stopped people from grinding to 100 games with, 2100 claw palm Nurglers was the thing back then. So that was good. Everyone liked that. But the one issue they had with it was constantly brought up is there was no way for strength of opponent. If you went 25-2-2, and you did it at 4 a.m, people would point out that you didn't play anyone any good. Whereas the person who went 25-2-2 at 7 p.m. UK time played 6 or 7 good coaches at a much harder run. And yet those two runs were completely identical within the system. And that was the one thing that people were missing. And that always led on to the same discussion. We need this. We need ELO. We need some kind of coach-based system so you can factor that into wins and losses. Who you beat is more important than what you beat in Blood Bowl. So this is the biggest thing. And, it's probably the toughest pill to swallow for Cyanide and Nacon, because team-based SR has been in now for the entirety of Blood Bowl 3, and they seem really attached to it. And the issue is, it doesn't work. And it's very hard to tell someone who made something, hey, the thing you made doesn't work. And it's very hard for that person to receive that information and act on it without feeling attacked. So, that's what's happened over the years. People have said it. There's been kickback. So people have just stopped complaining, but nobody likes team-based SR. I mean, obviously I'm speaking in generalities. In general, people don't like team-based SR. I hear nothing but complaints about it. No one defends it. The closest thing to a defense is I don't care, which they wouldn't care if it was changed to something good either. So this is one of the biggest changes, if not the biggest change that needs to happen. This is something that needs to happen full stop, but is also useful for making a ladder. TV-based matchmaking is the only fair matchmaking. This has been, established in Blood Bowl for decades. The whole concept of things like tiering and tabletop has been built around this. I have no idea why there's constantly fights about this. The only fair matchmaking is TV matchmaking. Individual players, especially the large percentage of casual players, don't know whether their opponent is any good or not. They don't know the names of top players, and they also can't tell really the difference between good play and bad play. But what they can see are numbers. So we've asked casuals for 10 years now, what's important to you? And it's always the same 3 things. The game works. I got a game in a reasonable amount of time, and my matchup was fair. When you ask them what their matchup was fair means, the first thing out of their mouth is the same TV as me. Obviously, they didn't mean the exact same TV, but the larger the difference in TV, the more likely they were to complain or concede, or both. We had a vote on Blood Bowl 2 that had a max of 500 TV difference in it, and the vote was won by people who wanted to drop it to 350, and people would want to drop it more than that too. Other matchmakers, obviously Blood Bowl played on tabletop, it uses tiering, and so does the rules now with the matched play rules, and they keep those TV within other than stunties, they keep their TV within a certain range. There's no 500 TV difference with tiering, and we use the same in arena. Nobody wants those matches. Every single time someone gets a 300, 400 TV down match, the chance of them complaining is massive. Every complaint is bad. So under 1K spins at 1K, no TV gaming. I don't like this weird rule they put in, this weird drop down menu where you can spin a team at plus 400 if you want. It's not how it should work. it's an interesting idea to try and sort out the stunty problem, but it doesn't work. This works a lot better. Because what's currently happening is other teams are utilizing that, or stunties are abusing it by having an 800 TV team but spinning 500 down to get up to 1300 rep matches. Or you get all Norse Linos trying to get Morg, or all Amazon Linos trying to get Dribble and Drull. It's awful. There's no reason for it. Just simply have under 1K spins at 1K. So if you have a 600 TV Snotling team, assuming they come out, if you have a 700 TV Halfling team, an 800 TV Goblin team, they pretend to spin at 1K. They are still 800s. If they get a 1K matchup, they get their 200 of inducements. But the spin, the matchmaking algorithm, treats them as if they're 1K with a plus or minus. That's the one thing that you need in this, right? For me, they would start at 50, plus or minus 50. If you spin a 1K team, the biggest matchup you could get is from 950 to 1050. And then every game you play can increase that. So if you have a redraft, every game you play within that redraft, plus 5. So that'll go up to like 100 if you have 10 games, plus or minus 100. And then, if you redraft and play some more, it could go up to 150 and 200 in the future. Doesn't that, and it should be a cap on it. It should absolutely not be up at 3, 4, 500. There should simply be a cap. No one should want these games. That's the biggest issue, right? No one should want these games, because if you ask anyone, do you want to play 500 down? The answers you will get yes. The only answers you will get yes from are people trying to do something dodgy, trying to get Dribble and Drull on all Amazons. It's not going to be people actively wanting a 500 TV down matchup. No one competitive wants that. To make this better, I'm fine with spin cycles. I didn't dislike spin cycles on Blood Bowl 2. I hate the idea that if I try to spin for a match, I'm just going to get the one guy who's currently pressed spin and not an actual reasonable matchup. I think spin cycles are fine. You could have 3-minute spin cycles, so you have 20 an hour, and then every 3 minutes a spin goes off. No one's going to complain they have to wait 3 minutes for a match. And then, of course, if they don't get a match, it's because there wasn't someone appropriate. Ask people. Put out a poll. Ask people, hey, would you like to wait another 3 minutes or even another 10 minutes for a match rather than get a 400 TV down match? The overwhelming response will be, I'll wait. Thanks. We know this. We've done this. We've asked people. We already have this information. I should say that I probably should have got into a bit more detail about the coach-based SR. I think standard Glico can work. I'm sorry to put this out of order. I just can't go backwards on the slide. Standard Glico can work. It would need a flatter profile to account for, dice ins not ruining things, because obviously Blood Bowl isn't an entirely skill-based game. So you'd initially need a flatter profile so that wins and losses aren't so bumpy. And you can use all the logos and bands that you currently have. You could split them, so you'd like gold 1, gold 2, platinum 1, platinum 2, diamond 1, diamond 2, and you'd move up and down through those levels. Everyone would start at gold 1, so gold 1 would be the equivalent of starting at 150 in tabletop or starting at 1500 in chess. So you can drop below that if you lose, down into silver and bronze, but everyone would start at like gold 1 as a rating. So, I mean, that's the kind of formula that takes time to work out, right? You can easily utilize the mathematicians in the community, or even AI if you want to come up with a pretty decent Glico like variation to cover Blood Bowl. Play a season with it, tweak it a bit if it doesn't quite work, play another season with it, and then you'll have a nice baseline for everyone. Everyone will have their scores, no matter what system you use. It won't be far off, but even if it's slightly off, good players will still be up and bad players will still be down. It'll be close enough. And then you can utilize it for strength of schedule in ladders. Redraft. I am very aware that some people complain about redraft. It doesn't matter. You can't please everyone all the time. Some people complain about everything. There's nothing you could do in Blood Bowl that someone won't complain about, just like everything else. Tabletop uses redraft. Redraft is in the rule book. It's completely fine. It absolutely does work for the thing that it's supposed to do, which is stop runaway teams. Runaway teams are terrible. Look at the current ladder. It's awful. Some people will want to play it. Some people love playing their 2100 Nurgle for 65 games. Nobody likes playing against them. So you're only at best making 50% of that match happy. And that person's playing 47 games against 35 other people. It's 35 unhappy people for one happy person. That's not the right way around it should be. Everyone's used to redraft now. It's been in the rules. Tabletop have used it. Tabletop leagues across the world use it. Fumbles introduced it. People are used to it. It's completely fine. My suggestion is 10 games. 20 was insane. I don't know why anyone would think that would work. An 8 was too small. I think 10 psychologically as a round number is important. 10 games works just fine. Fumble uses 15, and I've had a lot of experience with 15, and I think it's a little too high. As it says at the bottom, the important part is the cut. The thing that people complain about the most is that when they cut their team, they have to remove so much of their team. And that's because the difference between the last game of their redraft and the first game of their next redraft is defined by how many games they played, and then the lowest, and then the cap of the gold you have to rebuy, which that difference is the cut. So the less games, the smaller the cut. So yeah, okay, 8 was a little too annoying to have to redraft every 8 games. Add another couple on that. Round number seems normal to humans, right? They wouldn't even question it. The format probably doesn't matter what you use. Like, games played, 20 gold per whatever. You could use the one in the book. What actually matters is the cap that you pick, because most players will hit the cap. The only people that won't hit the cap are those who try to redraft before the end of their, 10 games. Everyone else will hit the cap just by playing in general. So the idea for redraft is to try and keep teams in the sweet spot of Blood Bowl for as long as possible. And by that, I mean between 1300 and 1700. Below 1300, teams are missing skills and resources. RNG is too big a factor. People get annoyed. Above 1700, everyone has everything. It's just dice rolling. Skill is less important because you have backups. Your one blitzer doesn't have to be in the right place because you've got 2 of them fully decked out. You will, in this version, the 3rd season, you will have stat monsters on all of your positionals by the time you're at 1900. It's not great, Blood Bowl. Yeah, people enjoy it. Some people enjoy it. That's what leagues are for. If someone wants to play 2500 Nurgle, they can join a league where the people like that with the other 8 people in the world who like that. That's fine. But this is supposed to be a competitive environment, and Blood Bowl at 2000 is not competitive. It's just button mashing. So you could try this out, 10 games. If it seems too little, 12 would be the next number to move to. I think 10 games is a reasonable sweet spot for redrafting. And then you have them all together, right? So you have 10-game redraft cycles. You have the capability with coach-based SR and a Glicko ranking for the ability to give points per level of opponent that you beat. So you can now start to put together a ladder system with a strength of opponent factor built in and built around this 10-game redraft cycle. And to add that little extra bit that people will need, we need spin agency. So what I mean by spin agency is simply that, or when you, on the page where you spin for the game, you can put a drop-down menu, and that drop-down menu controls the lowest level of opponent you are happy to play. So obviously the default would be Bronze 1, includes the entire spin pool. That casual players won't change this. Casual players just want a game as fast as possible, as mentioned. Don't care who their opponent is. They just want a game that's fast and even. So they won't change that, but competitive players will, because obviously strength of opponent will mean that if they play bronze coaches or silver coaches or gold coaches, they're not going to earn as many points, and they're capable of beating platinum coaches and diamond coaches. So they'll only want to play those players to get as many points as possible per win. So that needs to be there, with one caveat. Doesn't include a maximum. You don't put a maximum in there. You don't want people to only play bronze coaches. Those people are the worst. And there should probably be a cap on what you can do. So if you're a platinum coach, you can't select higher than platinum, or maybe one level higher or something. But we can't have gold coaches constantly trying to match against, diamond or crimson coaches trying to screw them or whatever. That's annoying too. So minimum only. So now when you put all that together, you have 10 game cycles. You can assign points per level of opponent based on their coach-based SR. You have spin agency to allow you some control over that. And therefore, over those 10 games, you can now add up a total number of points that you earned in that 10-game cycle to be a total. And that is your total for that redraft cycle, a season for the team, which is annoyingly named because I assume Warhammer Blood Bowl will also still use the word season for the 3 months. Bit annoying. We only have one word for it, unlike coaches and players, so maybe we need to come up with another word. And then you have a total number of points. Then you redraft and you do it again, and you have another number of points. And then you redraft and you do it again, and you have another number of points. And for me, that's 30 games. That's enough for me to represent a skill level. Less than that is iffy. More than that is pointless. 30 games is enough. It doesn't mean you stop at 30 games. Your team can redraft again and do it again. But if you add up the 3 cycles, runs, in points, then you end up with a total, and that's your score on ladder. And that's how ladder is laddered. That's how ladder is ordered. So let's say you get 100 points for beating a gold 1 coach. For a gold 2 coach, it's 105. For a platinum 1 coach, it's 110. So on and so on. If you draw, you get half of those points. If you draw with a gold coach, you get 50. And if you lose, you get 0. You should never lose points. Firstly, psychologically, it's annoying. People hate it. And you will lose for losing anyway because of the coach-based system. So it's not like it doesn't have a negative effect already. Having a double negative effect would be really annoying. But 0 is enough of a punishment. So it kind of psychologically defends against the dicing a little bit, because if you lose to a good coach or you get diced by a bad coach, 0 is the same result. You get 0 points for that one of your 10 games. That's enough of a punishment. And so if you add that together, it would look something like this. As you can see here, run 1, run 2, run 3 in totals, and then ladder is organized by those totals. So the person with the 3 best runs would be at the top. You can have their coach rating on the left just for informational purposes, but the ladder wouldn't be organized by that. Ladder would be organized by the total of their runs. And as said, teams that start well will probably use their first 3 runs, but teams that start badly, like Lizards, could use run 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3 will be in the ladder when they do them, but then when they do run 4, if it beats any of their previous runs, that slots in, and you kick the lowest one out. So the system keeps track of your 3 best runs and adds them together. And anything less than that is discarded. So you could conceivably, for someone who wants to play 150 games with the same team, redraft 15 times and have 15 runs to choose from. Because of the way Blood Bowl works, that doesn't really give you any kind of advantage. And for me, because it has strength of opponent in it, because 30 games is a reasonable amount of games, it's quite low, to be honest with you, to represent skill. But if you include strength of opponent, as I'm doing here, that increases the likelihood that it represents skill to make up for the 30 games being reasonably low. I think this is a good competitive baseline for a ladder. I think it would actually be difficult to be on the front page of this ladder. I don't think you're going to get bad coaches playing a good team and playing 100 games on the front page of this ladder like we've had all the way through Blood Bowl 3. So that's my pitch, basically, for a competitive environment in Warhammer Blood Bowl, something that I think other people who don't currently play would be interested in playing. I can guarantee at least a few of them anyway. I think this, because this is 30 games, by the way, I'll talk about this in a future slide. This would make Sprint pointless, right? Sprint is currently in there just for good players who don't have time. I don't even understand why that's a consideration, because it hasn't worked, has it? Like, no, there are no good coaches have come back to Blood Bowl 3 because of Sprint. That was just made up, and we all said it wouldn't happen, and it hasn't happened. So it's a good, this is a good compromise, because you can play 30, you can play 40, you can play 50, but the minimum, you only have to play 30, which is close enough to Sprint to make that redundant, and it replaces the grind advantage of players who have an insane amount of spare time. I mean, it doesn't get rid of it completely. There is nothing you can do to get rid of the small advantage. You just want to minimize it. People with more time will obviously have an advantage, but you just want to minimize it. It doesn't have to be gone completely, and this minimizes that advantage. And 30 games in 3 months. If you can't do that, you don't have time to be involved in the competitive environment. As we'll see when I talk about cups and things, there's a lot of competitive Blood Bowl seemingly planned. Good players can barely play it all. So 30 games is enough. Obviously, we should always try to be inclusive, but if you don't have enough time to play 30 games in 3 months, you probably just don't have enough time to be in the Blood Bowl competitive environment. Exceptions or casuals, same thing really, right? People who aren't interested in the competitive side and just want to play a game. Firstly, redraft is fine. If they read the rule book, it's in there. I mean, any new players who buy in the game won't know that it wasn't in there before, so why would they care? The main people who complain are people who've been in Blood Bowl for ages and just don't like the rule. Well, tough. Other things change too. If they complain about that, are we going to not use it? No. The only things we should never use from the rules are things that are not viable for the format, and redraft is completely viable for the format. It works completely fine. Opting out of a system like this is just ignoring it. You just leave the spin on bronze only. You won't particularly affect your coach rating with the matches you get, because obviously bronze coaches won't affect a Glico type rating at all. You'll earn nothing from beating them, and they won't be worth any points for ladder, so you won't ever find yourself on there by accident. So you just have opted out by just playing Blood Bowl however you want to play it. There's nothing to do. It doesn't affect them negatively in any way. And if you don't like any form of progression, then Arena exists. So this covers the main thing for the majority of players. Talking of Arena, Arena's great. Should absolutely always be there. For a progression alternative to, a resurrection alternative to progression should always be there, but it does need fixing. Two things. One, it could be a ladder. It doesn't have to be some kind of weird 7-game, gamey type format we keep changing. You can have that included, by the way, if you want to still use that as a method of qualifying for the Arena Cup. That's fine. Anyone who has done that kind of run with it. But you could also have a ladder attached to it. People were playing Arena ladder. So, and also you can have stats. Obviously, they would be separate. The coach-based SR would be entirely based on ladder-only games. But you could have an Arena SR for people as well. Completely separate. Lots of people don't like progression Blood Bowl and just want to play Resurrection. They would be all over a separate set of stats for Arena. all of the same stats that you can include for coach-based SR, all, individual ratings for all of the different um, races. I should say now, because I forgot to say it earlier, separate the 4 stunty races, not snotlings, they'll go in normals. Separate the 4 stunty races. People shouldn't be discouraged from playing the 4 stunty races because it'll affect their coach-based SR or whatever. Stunty SR should also be a thing. All of these stats are crazy good for people. People will really, really want to be the best Goblin coach, the best Pro Elf coach. Like, the whole discords exist of players who to play just goblins, to play just ogres, to play just halflings. Discords exist. That's how popular that idea is. And lots of them, especially the stunty coaches, prefer resurrection because it's easier for them than easier for the stunty races to play resurrection than it is for them to play progression. So ladders and stats could be included in Arena. Absolutely, it could, and I would recommend that it is. As far as tiering goes, the first thing is please don't use it to sell whatever the blood pass is. Don't under tier whatever team it is. We've now had to put up with almost a year of Chorfs, Chaos Dwarves being under tiered considerably because I assume because they just so happened to be the team that was introduced and therefore were on the blood pass. It's really bad. People can obviously see that it's happening and it's a negative impact on people's outlook on the game. Ignore it. People will still buy the blood pass. No one's buying the blood pass because they're under tiered in Arena. And in fact, for me, tiering shouldn't even be an issue. You should copy tabletop rule sets. This Arena is one of the prime attractions for the tabletop crowd. Those top players that I'm saying don't play Blood Bowl 3 and won't play Warhammer Blood Bowl. This is how you attract them with Arena. As much as a good ladder might interest them, and it does, I've talked to them, a good Arena rule set, if they could practice for Euro Bowl, because Arena was using the Euro Bowl rule set, they'd be here and playing. There would be many, many, many more games played in Arena just from them practicing with the correct rule set. Doesn't have to be all year, although it could be. But say Euro Bowl rule set comes out, and then the next season implements the Euro Bowl rule set, and then depending on when Euro Bowl is, maybe the season after that keeps it. And then, of course, there'll be another major competition in tabletop whose rule set you can use for the next one. There are many of them around the world, and they're all very important, and this is what happens in tabletop. Euro Bowl rule set comes out, incredible amount of tabletop tournaments around the world then just adopt that rule set to attract more players to their tournament because they will want to use that tournament to practice for Euro Bowl. That should be what Arena does. I have no idea why Arena is making up its own rules. It doesn't appeal to anyone. So it should absolutely be tabletop rules. Just use the same rule set. There's no issues with copyright or anything like that. As we know, rules cannot be copyrighted. And also, no one will care. If anything, they'll love it that they have another place they could practice for major tabletop tournaments. And much like ladder with the rankings and stuff, Arena should also have a Hall of Fame. They should also have who had the longest run. It's very, very annoying that you can go 7-0-0 and it just kicks your team out. Maybe I want to go 15-0-0. Maybe I want to go 20-0-0. Maybe I want to go for the longest run ever made in Arena, and I want to see my name on a leaderboard because of that. Again, split by races, right? Longest run overall, and then you can use a drop-down menu to select longest halfling runs, longest goblin runs, longest dwarf runs, whatever. People love this, and it's so little work. All of the information is already in the client. It's already hidden. You could just utilize it to make these things, and that kind of thing is what makes people play more. That's the biggest impetus for a lot of players, is to, make their number go up. like chase rankings, get themselves on a leaderboard, see themselves somewhere, or if they're not great and they're never going to see themselves at the top of leaderboard, to maybe get from gold 1 to gold 2 as a coach. When it's something temporary, like the current team-based SR, and it moves around so much with every win, you can jump up and down levels in like 3 or 4 games. That's not an impetus to play. No one even really cares about it. But if it's something that takes work and time and it rewards effort, it people will play. And also, it will lower concede rates. It will, including in arena that has the highest concede rate in Blood Bowl, an incredibly high concede rate, something like 60% or more is a concede rate. And yes, I know that includes turn 14 concedes, etc. But those ones will continue because they've lost anyway. But people will play out a bad start if they have arena stats. It gives them a reason to continue to play a bad start game. Currently, there isn't one, and it's gone, and the other person doesn't like it either because they didn't get to play a game of Blood Bowl. Even though they get a win, which is all that really matters in arena, they still don't like it. They don't complain as much as ladder because they don't lose as much. But lots of people have, for example, set aside their, spare time to play a game of Blood Bowl, and their game of Blood Bowl lasts 15, 20 minutes, and now they don't have enough time to play another one, and up they pop in Discords and chats to complain. You should always incentivize not conceding over punishing conceding. And having stats incentivizes not conceding. For a lot of people, if there was permanent stats in the game, I would concede a lot less often. This one is not really related to the last things, but it is related to the culture of competitive environment. There are too many cups going on. I know this seems like a bit of a left field. I'll get to the point. There are too many cups. Sprint Cup can go, as I said. Look, it was invented for imaginary players who only have enough time to play 20 games. They don't exist. People haven't done it. Where are they? Point them out to me. They don't exist. It was a silly argument, and no. One progression format, ladder, should equal one progression cup. The ladder cup. One resurrection format, arena, should equal one resurrection cup. The arena cup. And also change the names. The playoffs and Champions Cup makes no sense. The arena is not anything to do with champions. That makes no sense. And playoffs doesn't make any sense because you win them and there's nothing after that. That's not what playoffs means. Please change the names. And then the third format of Blood Bowl, Swiss, is represented now by Clash and should stay Swiss. It should always be Swiss. So the Ladder Cup is progression, the Arena Cup is resurrection, and Clash is Swiss. And then above that, and played separately, is Super League, which is fed from those cups and ladder. And if you dump Sprint Cup and you don't add more cups, please don't add more cups that are just based the same as these things. If you're going to add more cups, they should be fun cups. They should be non-competitive cups. Not saying that people won't play them to win, but they shouldn't be the prestigious ones. They should be the spectacle ones. The ones that people watch for fun. And I would, again, I've tried to push this for a long time. Use the names. Have this spike once per year, once per season. So therefore, once per year. Have this. You only one cup per season. I mean, and therefore once per year. One of them can be the Spike Trophy. That can be a trophy for anyone who hasn't been in any of the other cups or Clash or Super League. In other words, it's a casual cup. Spike Trophy in the Blood Bowl lore represents the people's trophy, right? Have it be a casual cup. Have someone like Misspell Tree cast it, not people who are gonna talk about how bad they are or anything. It's a fun, casual spectacle. It's not about how good players are. Anyone can be in it. Have some weird rules in it, even. Throw in some odd rules to take something from the Eternal League or whatever and have that in there. And then once per year, you can do the Chaos Cup, which can be fed from one of these others, and that can have, mutations every round get added to your team. Have some fun. Have the Christmas Cup with the new snowy pitch, and you hand out like Santa hat, helmet cosmetics, and there's rules because you're playing in the snow. So it's always like, a blizzard or something. Daft stuff. Have different kickoff tables. Anything. Just include the extra weird stuff. Have footballs that can do weird things, like jump out of your hands on a D6 roll or something. All of that weird fun stuff that's been in Blood Bowl for forever, but we turn off for competition. Have it in these. Have the extra cup be that. So we all know that if you win it, it doesn't, it's not prestige, it's a laugh. It's fun. The biggest problem with too many cups is no one cares about any of them once you spread the tension too thin. Um, I asked my chat, I asked my community, hey, who won like last season's Sprint Cup? No one knows. No one has a slightest Scooby. Sometimes someone like Jim or me will cast the final and nobody like remembers it because no one pays attention to the cups because it like one of them is fed from ladder and we all know ladder is just randos grinding. It's not anything to do with skill. Arena Cup is so big, like 8 rounds or something, that by the it's hard for any top player to not be diced in 8 rounds. So loads of them just get knocked out because they have to run too long a gauntlet. So the quality is down. So if you have too many cups on top of that, it just exaggerates the problem. No one has that level of attention. And also, good players can't play this much Blood Bowl. If you have to play ladder to qualify for the ladder cup and then play the ladder cup while the next ladder is on, that's two things at the same time. You also have to play arena to qualify for the Arena Cup and then play the Arena Cup while the next arena is on. That's 4 things at the same time. The Sprint Cup is a 5th thing. Clash is 3 times a season. That's 6, 7, and 8. If you win any of those because you're good or you place or whatever, you're in Super League. That's a load of games per year. And I've seen something pop up called Divisions in the championship thing. That's in more Blood Bowl. It just makes it bad. It doesn't help. It just makes it bad. More people get to play, but the quality declines, and therefore less people watch and less people care. And if less people care, less people play in the future because no one cares. And the point of adding this last bit of too many cups and things like that is this: as the reason for having coach-based SR and halls of fame and leaderboards and best ex-coach and things like that is Warhammer Blood Bowl, if it wants to be the place to play Blood Bowl, should foster a culture of excellence. The competitive scene and the good players within it are the beating heart of the Blood Bowl hobby. There's a million more casuals, right? Tens of thousands more casuals. But think of them as the outside of the tumbleweed. The bit in the middle that started the rolling and stays in the middle forever are the competitive scene. The casuals come in and out. They blow off the tumbleweed and new ones stick back on. They're forever refreshing. But the core in the middle are the guys that play every season for multiple years. They're the ones that you need to attract and keep interested. And you do that by fostering a culture of excellence, by having ladder be relevant, by having ladder be prestigious, and having the winner of ladder lauded because it's actually difficult to do, by keeping cups to the minimum so that you can promote them as winning something important. There's only one Euro Bowl per year. There's only one Blood Bowl World Cup every 4 years in tabletop. They don't have 55 cups a year for this reason. If Euro Bowl was every 3 months, no one would care about Euro Bowl. Lesser cups are not interesting to people. And if you don't have a competitive ladder, if you don't have a good competitive environment, the fruit of the poisonous tree maxim comes in, where not very good players who can play a lot of games and grind stuff out end up in competitions. They end up in cups, and if enough of them do that, then they play each other one dice in or so, they win something or they place, and now they end up in Super League. Everything gets messed up. It's not their fault, right? It's the system's fault. And the problem is when someone joins in to watch a cup game, and this really happens, uh, uh, players, sorry, people ask who the players are. Like, who's that? Why can't they do this? They're not very good, are they? And then those players feel bad because people are watching them, and they don't consider themselves to be the best Blood Bowl player in the world. They just accepted a ticket because tickets are too easy to get. The World Championships is fine for that. There's a whole system at the start that, like, removes the lesser players, and there's room for a glory run, same as the FA Cup or something. One lesser player can have an amazing run, prove himself, end up in the knockout finals or whatever. But in general, that's what it should be. It should be skill is rewarded, not free time is rewarded. That should never happen. Halls of Fame should be all over the thing. Stats should be everywhere. There should be a ladder Hall of Fame. You should be able to look up who won ladder 4 seasons ago, who won the ladder cup last season. All of these things should be permanent and archived. You should be able to look up who has the current best ladder record, current best ladder win rate for dwarves, who's the best goblin coach on Blood Bowl 3. You can't do any of that. Warhammer Blood Bowl can fix all of those problems. And you can give stuff away for it, free stuff, custom titles. We already do it for people who are in the know, who help you out. Tree's got one, Davo's got one. You can give this away for skill rather than for just, being helpful. Reward excellence. Hall of Fame has been missing for so long. No other game I know of doesn't have records of this kind, where there's win-losses and easily kept stats. No other game. I could tell you who won every Call of Duty major tournament for the last 10 years with a simple search. So yeah, there we go. That is my dream, and it is all linked. It is all linked to the same thing, right? Even though I started it as what would be a good competitive ladder, really it's good competitive environment, because it includes arena, it includes not watering down the championships, the cups. It includes just an environment of lifting up those who have given effort to learn Blood Bowl and have come to your platform to play their Blood Bowl. They've given you their time. Why not reward that? So yeah, this is my dream, obviously, you know, and plenty of people's dreams. Like I said at the start, there are a number of top players I know who would play something like this quite often compared to the zero games they currently play and have no interest in. They play elsewhere. They play their games on tabletop, they play their games on Fumble. They have no interest in playing games on Warhammer Blood Bowl, and they wouldn't if there wasn't anything else, because it's just not an environment that appeals to them. And that's sad, because without them, as I said, the tumbleweed falls apart. People leave and stop playing or play less, and all you're left with are just free time people. Just play by themselves or play each other a lot. Anyway, maybe some of that has convinced you that this is important. This is something that could make the whole thing better. We have the same goal. We have the same goal. We all want Warhammer Blood Bowl to be excellent. We want Warhammer Blood Bowl to succeed, to make money. because I think this does make money, right? This idea draws in more people who already spend money on Blood Bowl. Casuals are not that group. Tabletoppers spend thousands of pounds on Blood Bowl all the time. They travel around the world. They pay travel expenses. They stay in hotels. They buy dozens of teams. They spend their time painting those teams. They buy metal tokens and dice by the bucket load. They spend money. They have disposable income and they're happy to spend it on their hobby. They are the people who would buy a flaming helmet or some, glowing gloves or whatever for their team. Of course they would. Why wouldn't they? It's their hobby and they enjoy it. You want to invite more of those people to come play the game. And nothing that's on Blood Bowl 3 has done that. So Warhammer Blood Bowl is a good opportunity to address that very glaring issue. That's the end. That's it. I'm sorry if I sound down, like I wasn't really like pushing that very much. It is currently like 1,000,000 degrees in the UK, and I'm pretty certain I'm dying of sweat. I don't know if that's a thing, but I'm gonna go with yes, because that's how I feel. Well, I will see you all on my channel right there, or in the next video. Bye bye.